6 News. Coverage you can count on starts now.
Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Stoker Wieczorek. We begin out of Blair County, where a Williamsburg teenager who pleaded guilty to stabbing a home health care nurse with a sword was sentenced Thursday afternoon. Authorities say Michael Watson was charged with multiple felonies, including attempted homicide and aggravated assault. In April of 2020, after police say he stabbed a nurse who had been taking care of his grandfather, Watson was sentenced to serve 18 to 36 years in prison, followed by 7 years probation. According to the arrest affidavit, the victim told police that Watson followed her to her car, where he reportedly hit her, knocked her down, and stabbed her several times with a very long weapon. Altoona police say a Blair County man is behind bars after being accused of raping and strangling a female relative inside the attic of their home. Police say on May 30th they were dispatched to UPMC Altoona for a report of a sexual assault that occurred at a home along 7th Street. The victim explained to police that she had her family live in the home with Christopher Gunter. Gunter reportedly asked the victim to play a game. When the victim denied request, Hunter entered her room completely naked and began to physically and sexually assault the victim. Authorities observed numerous injuries to the victim, consistent with her description of the attack. Gunter is being held at the Blair County Prison on $500,000 bail. His preliminary hearing is scheduled for June 22nd. A trial date has been set for a Cambria County man accused of stabbing a woman to death during a Facebook marketplace sale last year. Investigators say Joshua Gorgon faces homicide charges for the death of Denise Williams. They say Williams was found inside his Guystown apartment with multiple stab wounds. He allegedly told investigators he was stabbed Williams over an argument over the price of a refrigerator he was selling. Jury selection is scheduled for September 22nd and 23rd, with the trial beginning immediately after. The murder retrial continued yesterday for a Cambria County man accused in a 2017 Johnstown shooting. It was day 2 of the trial for Mizon Grednetti, who investigators say shot and killed Baron Grumbling near Oakhurst Homes in May of 2017. A mistrial was declared in January after a judge ruled that one of the witnesses' testimony violated a pretrial motion. The retrial is expected to end early next week. State police in Cambria County have charged a Gallitzin man with his involvement in a fatal motorcycle crash last summer. Troopers say David Myers is charged with involuntary manslaughter and D.U.I. in the death of 21-year-old Sierra Faribaugh. Investigators say the pair was traveling northbound on Columbia Street in Allegheny Township when Myers failed to negotiate a curve. Authorities say both riders were thrown from the motorcycle and Faribaugh was killed after the bike landed on top of her. They said Myers admitted to drinking before the crash occurred. Myers is out on unsecured $25,000 cash bail. State police say Mill Hall has been charged with homicide by vehicle while driving under the influence in a crash that killed a Clinton County woman last year. Troopers identified Travis Bennett as the driver of a vehicle that crashed along Penns Valley Road in Haines Township on August 18, 2021. Investigators say Bennett was driving westbound when his vehicle left the road, struck a tree, and went airborne. They say his passenger, Hallie Harpster, died while being taken to the hospital. Bennett later admitted to using Adderall on the day of the crash. Investigators say meth was found inside the vehicle. They say a blood draw also found meth in his system. He's being held at the Center County Prison and has a preliminary hearing scheduled for Wednesday. People who are operating state parks and nature areas are asking for funding, much needed repairs and upgrades. The Coburn pedestrian bridge, built in 1880, located in the park, is one of the landmarks that needs repairs. The bridge that is used a lot by fishermen on Penns Creek. The Department of Conservation and Natural Resources says they have a wish list for project upgrades, like the bridge that totals more than $1.4 billion. However, there's no priority for that funding.
We noticed it during the pandemic that folks came out to their public lands, their parks, their forests, their fishing opportunities, their boating opportunities in droves. Higher numbers than we've ever seen. As a typical example, we use state parks because they have a pretty easy way of counting visitation. Their visits during the pandemic, 2020, was over 47 million visits.
This year, through federal COVID relief, funding outdoor recreation in Pennsylvania directly supports at least 150,000 jobs statewide. This morning, the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission, partners in the Somerset community, hosted a refill ceremony at the Somerset Lake. This was to celebrate the completion of an $8 million rehabilitation project that began nearly 10 years ago. Depending on rainfall amounts, the lake should return safely to full capacity by autumn. After effective seepage was found in the January 2012, the water level was lowered by 6 feet to reduce pressure on the old dam, and an additional drawdown occurred in October of 2017. The 250-acre lake began to refill on May 25th. In Center County yesterday, an accessible transportation fair was held until 8 p.m. at the Nittany Mall parking lot. The event was to make residents aware of various options for people with disabilities. Multiple transit and paratransit vehicles were on display through the CATA, MTM Transit, Center County Office Transportation, and Penn State Transportation Services.
It's really beneficial for riders in that they can actually come and take a look at the actual vehicles that are here. We have transit vehicles, paratransit vehicles. Get on the vehicles, see how they feel, see how the different features work, like the ramps to get wheelchairs on and other mobility devices, things like that.
The Nittany Mall parking lot is located behind the Aldi grocery store off of Benner Pike. Still ahead on 6 News at noon, the COVID-era testing requirement that will expire come Sunday. But first, why police departments in the state say it's time for radar guns to enforce speed limits.